Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yucks, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers they pluck. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.
Hi, I'm Adam Heath Avitable.
And I'm Sarah.
This is the DKS podcast, a podcast about love, sex, culture, and society. This week, we'll be examining whether or not the pandemic ruined dating. Enjoy the show.
And hi, YouTube. If you're watching, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Our channel is actually growing because of Adam's controversial reels. So if you want to see more of those, be sure to follow along.
Well, hello. Here we are in it's almost September. Where did August go? I can't believe. I feel
we're just busy. Things were happening.
Things have been happening. We're back. We missed last week because of my fault. I was in a place. I was in a hotel in what town was I in?
God, I don't know.
I know. I'm trying to remember. Knoxville. Yes. Knoxville. Yes, I was in Knoxville. It's all blurry together now. And the internet was just terrible. It was just so bad.
Even the phone call we were having, I was like, I'm going to lose my mind if we record like this. And then we just decided not to.
Just things kept dropping. You're like, yeah, even if we tried to do it through like just like a normal recording and stuff like, yeah, I think it would have driven both of us crazy. So we're like, let's just push it back a week. And so here we are. I'm now in a new town. I'm in Lexington, Kentucky now. And we're recording and it should be normal schedule from here on, because until you go away again, but we'll see whenever
to exile. I go away like I'm going to prison for
when you disappear again for whatever, your trips. So what's been going on in the last few weeks? It's been 3 weeks.
Let's see. I did some traveling and I went to Portland, Oregon to visit a friend, and this friend I went to college with, and she had a baby over the pandemic, so I got to meet her daughter for the first time, which was really cool. And I had baby fever for the first time. I've never wanted children. And I met her daughter and was like, oh my God, I think I want a kid too. And my friend had to keep telling me, so no, you don't. I know you, no, you don't. And when we were driving back, Roy and I were driving back, and because he stayed with his sister and I stayed with my friend. So we kind of had the weekend to ourselves, even though we were still in the same city doing stuff with different people. But when we were driving back, I was talking to him and I just kept telling him, I kind of want a kid. I don't know. Maybe I'm losing my mind. And then he just kept saying, okay, yeah, just let reality set in a little bit once you get back to Seattle. And then I was calling my other friend who has a 6-month-old, and she kept telling me, no, you don't want a kid. No, you don't. It's really hard right now. It's cute, but it's really hard. So I don't want a kid, but that was the first time I actually hung around a 3-year-old, and she was very well behaved. She was so fun to hang out with, but that's life of being an aunt, where I just give her back to my friend.
Right. That's what you want, is you want your brother to have a kid, so that way you can go and be the cool aunt. You bring all your cool shit from different travels, and they get to think you're awesome, and you spend time with them, and then you give them back, and that's the way to go.
So like you're the cool uncle.
Basically, yes. But my nephew is pretty badass. So I'll be seeing him when I'm in Florida, and it'll be cool. I'll show up. I'll be cool. I'll bring some type of gift that I'll get. Something that'll be a mess at his parents' house, like goop or slime or one of those things, and then I'll disappear again for God knows how long. Perfect kind of uncle that you want. Yeah.
So now I'm Aunt Sarah to my friend's daughter.
Oh my God, that's like a Freudian slip right there. What is going on here?
No, I'm not pregnant. I don't want a kid. I've let that, after seeing childcare costs and my friend telling me all of the horror stories with that, and then just navigating being a single mom, even though she didn't plan for that, because no one really plans for that when they're pregnant with their partner, but that shit happens. And then just everything else with development and needing assistance when things go wrong, just all of the things is hard. So
Yes.
And I'm not ready for that. And I don't think I want that. Also, the environment and what's the world going to look like in 100 years? I don't know. But anyways, I had baby fever a couple weeks ago, so that happened.
Yeah, you telling me about that was pretty interesting. I was like, what the hell? Where did like it just
I was holding off on telling you because I didn't think you would believe me.
no, it's still hard to believe. But yes, when you told me, I was just like, wow, that's not what I would ever expect you to you to say,
Yeah.
you of all people.
Well,
So
I've been thinking, things are pretty stable between Roy and I. My job is chill. I like living here in Seattle. What's the next step? And then all of a sudden I meet Mirabella and I'm like, well, maybe maybe a kid.
I mean,
But
I will admit that when I see like like my nephew, and I was like, oh, it would be cool to have one of those hanging around. Like it'd be cool to have, because they're a lot of fun, And when my when I was staying up in Utah with my family, and well, my neighbors that all kind of adopted my dad and mom as like surrogate grandparents would bring the kids over. They were fun to hang out with, and everything. I'd be like, yeah, I could see an alternate world where I had one, and that I had a child, and that being fun, and and having the fun. But then I could also see all of the expenses and all of the terror going with it as well. And yeah, I mean, think about all the travel you wouldn't be able to do.
I know, and that's part of it. If I like my life, and so my friend was explaining her baby daddy basically wants to do a lot of travel, and because he's dad right now, he kind of wants a little less hands-on fatherhood. So she's like, go travel, do what you want to do. I'm the sole provider of our daughter anyways, so if you want to do that, you can. She's like, she's a very non-traditional person when it comes to parenting and things like that too. She's like, if you want summers with her, I can have the rest of the year with her. If you want this. So she's navigating parenting very differently than my other friend who has a 6-month-old right now, where they're married, they have a house, they have all these things. So it's very interesting to see, even though their kids are two very different stages of life at this point, how they're parenting. And then I'm thinking, where do I fit in? What would I do? I don't know. And then I'm like, wait, hold up. The cost and everything else. I don't know. It was kind of cool to imagine for the weekend what that might look like, and then kind of go back to reality.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Yeah.
There's a little vacation in your mind as well.
In my mind, yes. And I will still be Aunt Sarah to all of my friends' kids, so I'll get to enjoy that. But
and now we're going to have all the birthers sending us angry emails about being like, but you don't understand the magic and the wonder and how amazing it is and how it transforms.
I'm sure
your life.
And that's what I was all wrapped up in when I was having this moment of how great would it be? And oh my God, look what they do all the time. And that would be so fun. And then, it's the reality of that's a percentage of it. Yes. But then there's also the other hardship that comes with it. And there's the transition that comes along with that. And, caring for someone and yeah, maybe it's just,
it's like being single in a relationship where like there's positives to both. There's stigmas to like being single or whatever, but it's like the child-free thing where there's a positive element to everything, and there's also negatives, and you pick your path and you can decide. I mean, you also have plenty of time. If you decided in 5 years from now to change your mind, who knows?
Right.
You could.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, meanwhile, Roy and I are talking about my birth control options of I don't really want to be on the pill anymore. And that's not because I want to be pregnant. That's because I'm just really sick of being on the pill. And so we were talking about the possibility of vasectomy for him or me switching to a different type of birth control because we don't want to just use condoms. So I don't know. So we've been navigating that. And then as we've been having that conversation, all of a sudden baby fever came up and I'm like, what if I just get pregnant?
Oh my God. Holy shit.
I mean, it went there for about a day. And then I saw Roy the following day and we drove back and then he just kept saying, Sarah, what?
Did at any point he'd be like, I could just drive the car into an embankment really easily, like if you want, like just to end it all right now.
He's like, what happened to last summer when you were about to get an abortion because you thought you were pregnant?
Right.
I don't know. But so that happened. Fun.
Okay.
And what else is going on? I'm now taking pole dancing classes consistently at a studio, which I've really enjoyed. So I've taken 3 right now, but I'm signing up for a full-on membership. So I'm going to be taking a bunch a month, which will be fun. Not only as a way to meet new people, because I think that's just more interactive than me working out at my other workout studio I was going to, but also a really challenging and fun new hobby. After my 3rd class, I actually started picking up on a lot of the moves. You know, there's a learning curve with everything. And finally, one of the moves just clicked and I was like, holy shit, I can fucking do this. This is awesome. And other people were really encouraging. And I was like, yeah, I think I want to continue this. So that's fun. Just a lot more bruised up. So that's cool.
Yeah,
but
I bet. And now you can, you have the space behind you. You could get a pole and just install it right there.
I don't trust anything in this house. Everything is fucking falling apart all the time. No. If you can't tell,
Patreon, Sarah pole dancing on our Patreon.
I mean, the ceiling is low enough in here that it would probably work, but I don't know. You have to get a really sturdy one because I've seen those videos online where people are on the pole and then the pole just falls off, you know, just collapses. Like no,
right down on their head.
Yeah. So with my membership, I can get, they have these open pole studio sessions where anyone can go in at that time that they're open for that and just do tricks and do whatever. So I think that's what I'm going to take advantage of instead of buying my own pole and trying to potentially die in here with the pole falling or something. Yeah, let me pass on that. But
good call. That's right.
Yeah, so been doing that. And then Roy and I actually just took a trip to the Olympic Peninsula, which is like the thumb. They call it the thumb of Washington because it's just that little part on the northwestern side. So we went to Forks, Washington, which was actually a lot more fun.
Which for those people who don't know, it is the home of Twilight, which I also know this because I'm a huge Twilight fan. But
you are a Twilight fan, huh?
Okay. Yeah, I read all the books before they were popular. Like I read the first one, I remember, and I was like, this is actually pretty decent. So and then they hadn't made the movie or anything yet, and I really enjoyed it. So I think she had the first 2 books out before it like really kind of took off. And I was like, she writes good characterizations. Like she knows how to write feelings well. She's terrible at plotting and terrible at action and terrible at a lot of things, but Stephanie Myers knows how to write like how people feel and how they react to feelings very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read all of that was probably, and I was telling Roy, this is probably the first book series that I really got into. I wasn't a Harry Potter kid, and I never went to the book releases, you know, and they had the midnight release of a new book for Harry Potter or whatever. Twilight was the first one I actually thought about going to because I was really into it, but I never did, you know?
Right.
But so going to Forks and seeing it, Roy had been there before, so he kind of let me know it's not a lot there. It's a town of 5,000 people. They run off of Twilight tourism.
Right.
Don't expect a lot here. So my expectations were lowered. So I just went in with it to have a good fucking time. And I swear I laughed the entire fucking time I was in Forks. We just poked fun at a lot of things. And I am a big fan of the books. And I think the movies are fun to watch and for what they are, you know, they're not the books. But we took a lot of stupid photos. They had all of these cutouts of all of the characters. And every year they have a Twilight festival where some of the no-name characters come into town and sign up posters and stuff. So they had, you know, Sam's wife who got attacked or whatever. They had a big poster of her and she had signed it during the Forks festival or whatever. So they had characters like that who come back. And then we went to La Push because that's also part of, you know, the Twilight story. So we went to La Push and walked around and we were like, oh, there's werewolves out here and just being like a kid again. It was really fun. And I low key want to go to Oregon now where they actually filmed most of the movie. In a couple different places. They actually have a Twilight house / Airbnb where you can rent it out and stay in Bella's room. And
oh, there you go.
Yeah, so low key, I want to do that for my birthday. I haven't told Roy about it yet, but I was like, wouldn't that be fun? Maybe just for me, but I don't know. I thought it was funny, and we had a good time, and we went hiking and did a lot of other things, and my expectations for this trip were also relatively low. I wasn't like, this is going to be an amazing trip. I thought this will be cool, but it ended up being so much better than I expected. And Roy and I had a lot of time to just drive everywhere and just chat about things. And I don't know, it was a good trip for the two of us.
Well, that's fun. That's really nice.
Yeah.
I remember when the movies came out, that was right when I was in the middle of having my affair. And I went to the movies with the person I had the affair with. We went to go see one of them, and there was a whole team Jacob versus team Edward thing.
Right.
And I remember like we were kind of having a genuine discussion of it, like in a sense.
Who
It
do
was
you like more?
like her husband versus me, because her husband was like a kind of a tall, like kind of skinny, pale guy, and then like I'm the hairy one, and so I was like Team Jacob all the way, and it was kind of like this weird subtext that we were talking about her choosing between her husband and me, and yeah, it's crazy. So that's one of the memories I have from that. But it's cool when you can have fun trips like that. Amy and I, we took a trip when we lived in St. Louis when we were in law school. We take trips sometimes just to small towns that had like a few things to do, like Hannibal, Missouri, which was Mark Twain's hometown, Samuel Clemens' hometown. Like we went there with no expectations. We just had like a hotel for like a couple nights, and like they had there was this guy that had a miniatures museum in his house. Like it was like so he had made all the Mark Twain characters into like little miniatures, and he had all their little things like dioramas that he had created, but it was in his house, and you had to go into his house to actually see it, which was really bizarre. Like all these little things that we went and did, and we're trying to be, and like we're laughing at it because we're also enjoying it, but we're trying not to like insult the people behind who are doing this,
right?
Because you don't want to, they put a lot of work into this and everything like that, but that stuff can be a lot of fun when you like have someone who's willing to kind of be goofy about it and isn't going to like roll their eyes and stuff too.
Yeah, no, once I told him, and we're going to go to the Bella Swan house and we're going to do this, Roy had no idea there were all of these other stops you could make in Forks. He just thought it was the main visitor center and that was it. And I was like, no, there's the museum. Then there's this and this. He was like, we'll do it. If you want to do it, that's fine. And he just embraced it, which I was not expecting.
That's
and
good.
Even when we went to Port Angeles, where part of the book was written where she has dinner, her first date with Edwards there or whatever, he's like, do you want to eat there? If you want to, we can go eat there. It didn't have great reviews, but we ended up not eating there.
Right.
But he was, if you want to do it, we'll do it, which was really fun. So
well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. And do you have anything coming up? Any travel coming up soon?
His mom and stepdad are coming into town, so we're gonna they'll be here for a week in September. So we're gonna go stay at a couple Airbnbs around the Pacific Northwest and just check out some new places that I haven't been to yet.
But no, like international travel in the next month.
Not in the next month, but before the end of the year, yes.
Before
but
the end of the year, yes. Well, that's exciting. I've been obviously on the road. I spent my last before I was in Knoxville, I was outside Nashville for a little bit, and I was stayed with at a friend's place. She had a cabin in the middle of nowhere. It was out on 50 acres, and it was cool getting to her place, like driving to her place, because like you turn down a road and then all of a sudden it's all dirt road, and it's like small one lane, like like if another car comes, you basically have to kind of pull almost all the way off the road to get, and I'm like, oh, I really like it up here. And I get up to her cabin, and it's like this huge cabin that this guy built. It's like her best friend's grandfather built it, and then he died, and he left it to her in like his will. So her best friend has it, and was like, no one lives there, so she's like, let's make it livable. I'd like you to, once so she's just living there now.
Wait, but this is the house that you bought the air conditioner for.
So the AC wasn't working. So I bought the AC unit and sent it to her, and I was like, this is your housewarming gift, but I'm going to monopolize it while I'm there. Well, they actually ended up repairing the AC because they were worried about, as warm as it was, they're worried about the potential of mold if the AC wasn't running, because you can get get in your vents and stuff like that. So they fixed the AC and got that running as well to make sure they avoided any mold issues. And so that was actually ended up being nice and comfortable the entire time, which was fantastic. And then she had an air mattress in her guest room for me to sleep on that had a slow leak. And so she was like, I don't know if it leaks or not, but it might. So the first night I had it
so find out.
Yeah. So basically I was sleeping in it, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was like, it was like I was in the inside of a taco, basically. Like the middle, of course, that I was sleeping on had, flattened underneath me, and then both sides had wrapped up around me. And then just imagine like me just like trying to like get out of this,
but how do you get out? Any person getting out of it?
Yeah, I mean anybody, but it was really hard to get out of. I was like trying to roll, but you can't really roll because literally you're like encased on both sides. I know it would have been ridiculous to try to see if anybody had seen that. What I ended up doing was reaching in front of me and turning the pump back on and just letting it like inflate while I was on top of it, and it just slowly filled all the way back up again. So then I just basically every like 3 hours had to reinflate it enough so I could sleep on it. So I didn't sleep great the entire time I was there, I will say that.
Yeah, I can't imagine you would.
we had a good time. She made me hike. You know, it was one of those things like we went out to get some food and then came back and she wanted to show the whole property. So she went to I want to show you this lake that I had that I also was on the property. So we park and she's like, yeah, just over the hill. Yeah, over the hill and like another 100 yards away. And ridiculous. But
You said it wasn't that bad when we talked on the phone.
it was a pain in the ass, but it was. I mean,
Oh
I
my
survived.
God,
I survived.
that was not how you described it on the phone. You were like, and I went hiking. I was like, oh, good for you. How was it? Oh, it wasn't that bad. And now you're complaining. Okay.
Now I'm complaining. Yes. In retrospect, it was terrible. It was hiking. But well, I also wasn't wearing. I was wearing my dress shoes at that point because I didn't know we were going to go on a hike. But then later, we went down. So the house overlooks like you can't call it a creek. It's a crick because it's in Tennessee. Overlooks a crick that is down in the holler because it is like literally like this little like
holler. What's a holler?
It's the hollow. That's like this little, that's what they call the holler. Yeah, it's down. Yeah, so there's a creek down in the holler, and but it's a it's a walk to get down there because like it from her like balcony, like it drops straight down. And like there's a cave system there and everything too. You could like look into this cave is really cool. But we went down there and she wanted to do some photos and stuff like that. So we're doing a photo shoot. And it was funny because I was, telling her that, sometimes people are like, I've, matched with women before who tell me on date, well, I don't like the idea of you taking naked, photos of women that are naked because, you just like, it just seems weird. What if you want to have sex with them and stuff like that? I'm like, I'm not trying to have sex with them. But also, I don't think sometimes people realize how decidedly unsexy like photography can be. Like, like it is 90 degrees. We are both just sweating. Like it is just miserably sweating. There's mosquitoes everywhere, like there's just bugs buzzing all over the place, even though we sprayed bug spray. And like, she's trying to like, avoid being too dirty because like she wants the photos to look good, but also like she's laying in the crick and I'm trying to like get in there and get a good angle and take pictures and like trying to avoid sweating on her, and she's just like, and she's in this water and she's like there's bugs all over, running all over her, and it is just not a sexy scene. Like there was no point in that I was like, oh, this is hot, even though the photos came out looking really, really sexy, the actual, scene of it happening is decidedly just there's never a time that you're like, oh yeah, that's really hot.
I'm so turned on right now.
So turned on. Yeah.
I think about the train situation where you're like, I'm trying not to get arrested.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, half the time it's just like there's like, you get a little burst of adrenaline, you're tired to take some photos and stuff like that. And even when I've done ones like in a studio, like change one of my rooms into a studio or whatever, it's still like you've got lights, you've got, like there's just it's not a sexy thing. And I sometimes wish that some of the women that I've matched with who said that, like they kind of get a little close-minded about it. And I think even guys sometimes think that that must be so hot, you're sitting there taking pictures of naked women. I was like, dude, it's really not. Like you're really just like, can we get the
on a chair just snapping photos, chilling,
right.
you're crouched down.
Yeah. I'm like knee deep in the at one point I was knee deep in the water, like trying to get a picture. It's not a fun thing all the time. So that was just kind of entertaining to think about. But and then here I am in Lexington now. I was in Knoxville for a week, visited with a friend of mine from TikTok. It was good seeing her. And in Lexington, I'm seeing my ex, aka Dirty Dancing. So we've got plans to go out this week, and then I'm going to be going to her. I think she invited me over for dinner at her house. I hope it's her husband cooking, because
why? What's wrong with her cooking?
She's a terrible cook. I mean, every time she would ever send pictures of things that she cooked, they were burned. I mean, and this is granted when she was.
I was gonna say, not all food photography is great.
No, it was terrible. But but she also subsisted mostly on a diet of Taco Bell, so I don't know how she would be cooking anything. So I think her husband's cooking, which I'm down for that. I would trust his cooking more than hers. I told her this, by the way, too. So this is not me like throwing her under the bus. She's not offended. No, when she invited me over for dinner, I was like, as long as you're not the one cooking. But and then so I'm going from Lexington to Charlotte for a week, and then down to Orlando, and be there for about 5-6 weeks, and get my shit out of my storage unit, and then head up to Tulsa with a move-in date of October 29th.
Time is ticking.
I know. I'm gonna miss Halloween really, because I'm gonna be in the middle of moving, unfortunately. But hopefully I can get up there just early enough, just to at least be able to go out and enjoy the downtown area for Halloween, see what it's like. But
what did you settle on? because we were talking about downtown
Oh
versus
God, yeah. And then I
suburban
remember,
life.
and then and then I kept calling you because I kept having all of these like
Yes, you
I
did.
was having so many crises of like just trying to figure out what the fuck I was gonna do.
It was crazy. I did not expect that from you, honestly.
I know. Well, this is it's a big decision. It is a year. It's a year of my time. And then we were talking about prices because then I was looking at like, okay, it's on the higher end of my budget, but like I could stay at this really cool luxury place and have a giant apartment. Have a 1,300 square foot, 1,200 square foot apartment, and then you're like, do you really need that though? Like, are you really showing that? Like, who's going to be there to see it? Like, you're going to have that original initial excitement of being like, oh, look, here's a cool apartment, but then like it's just going to be you living there. And I was like, okay, that's true. And then I started thinking, well, then if it's just going to be me, do I need to be downtown? Maybe I should look for more bang for my buck and look out in the suburbs, or look, somewhere where or somewhere that's like on the outskirts of downtown, and be like, like where I can get like a condo for cheaper. It's like a townhome, or go out and get a house and get a house, and it's a house for really cheap, like $1,000 a month. I can get a house. And then I was just all over the place. And then I was calling you. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I really was just.
You'd send me emails. Yeah. What about this one? What do you think about this one? I'm like, oh my God, pick one. You have 6 options. What the fuck?
Yeah, I know. So finally, I was like, no. I've never lived downtown. I've never, taken advantage of the opportunity to live downtown. This is a place I can do that as long as I don't want to spend on the higher end of my budget. I can still spend in the middle of my budget and do that. So I found a place that was in one of the luxury apartment complexes that is within the middle of my budget. That's reasonable. It doesn't put me out too much to live there. It's a 1-bedroom place, so it's just got the room. It's got a main 1 room and then a main bedroom with a kitchen and everything like that. Washer and dryer in the unit's very nice. It's all, very fancy shit and everything like that. But and they happen to have one available for the time that I was looking, and so that's what I have. So I signed a lease now.
Proud of you.
Yes, I've got a place. Downfall, it's on the first floor, which is cool. That's fine with me. Downfall is that it faces the pool. And there's 2 windows, 2 big windows, one in the bedroom and one in the living room. And
so everyone's gonna see you naked, basically.
Constantly, basically, like, because I hate shutting my blinds. Like I in the hotel room, like I keep them open so that like the morning light wakes me up. I like to have morning light. Like it's just a thing that I really enjoy because I've always grown up with that. And every place I've ever lived, my bedroom is faced like the backyard or whatever, so it doesn't matter. So it's gonna be facing the pool. So I'm gonna have to figure that out.
Well, think about winters. People aren't going to be out there. It's just summer. True. You need to worry.
And
about.
I don't know exactly how on the pool it is. Like, it might be recessed with bushes in front. Like it might not be as like bad as right now I'm picturing, but right now I'm picturing.
I'm glad you're at least aware.
Oh, fully aware. It doesn't mean I'm going to change the fucking thing I'm going to do about it, but I am fully aware.
Okay.
And then it's going to come down to trying to decorate the place. Kind of get all the stuff that I need. So.
Back to being a normal adult.
Yeah, for a little while at least.
Yeah, a year.
For a year, and then we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll be like, fuck it, I'm buying an RV. Stay on the road permanently. So, yeah. So that's a little catch up on what we've been up to. And we're gonna take a break in a minute. Before we do, we got a very nice email that I thought I would share. And I don't know if you want to like.
I was gonna say you can email us if you want to send us an email at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com. I don't know why.
It's been so long since we've done this that she's forgotten all the information.
No, I was like, no, that's the email.
Yeah. Yes, you can email us at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com. You can also leave a voicemail, and we are almost at the end of voicemails, I think, after this episode. So it is important that if you have any questions, anything you want to say, please, right now, call the DKS hotline at 407-519-0181 and leave us a voicemail. But this is an email from Michael, and I'm going to go ahead and read it right now. So Michael says, hi there. I am a casual listener on DKS and enjoyed your most recent Barbie episode, which was fantastic. This casual listener means he just like looks through episodes and he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna listen to this one or not.
That's fair. Yeah, okay. Some might be. Yeah. This interests me. This doesn't. Yeah.
So many great points made throughout this conversation. So many of society's issues are perpetuated by men, white men especially. Not all men are this way, however. And when he wrote this part, I was like, oh shit, yep. Not all men. because like he's getting into that, but he goes, not all men are this way. However, there is more that are than aren't. Okay. As a 50-year-old white guy, I hate that so many issues exist from twisted, dysfunctional white males. Working to reprogram my thought process as I've gotten older and the world's changing on what our culture is programmed and meant towards women. I deeply feel saddened that so many men have destroyed women in the past and continue to feel threatened whenever something women like or feel proud of or accomplish, or if they call out men for somehow getting away with a bad behavior. This goes to prove how insecure men are as a whole. Men as a whole should be partnering with women and see both sexes bring a lot of value. We're better together and could do so much more for good if we all work together and recognized and respected our differences. This shouldn't tear us apart, but make us stronger as a society. Men as a whole need to look in the mirror and take responsibility for our role in how things in our society have arrived where we have. Thanks for your podcast. Keep up your great work. People are listening. So,
thanks, Michael.
Yeah, this is a very nice email. And it is something sometimes, and I get this a lot on TikTok where people will be like, well, your messages on TikTok, I know they're for men, but are men actually listening? And, it does seem that I have a larger, women audience than I do, men out in my audience. And so I'm like, I don't know, but this is it's nice to have, it's nice to have this.
Yeah. Some social proof there.
Yeah. From someone who's a little bit older, as well too, not just because I would definitely say that a lot of younger men listen, and who are more willing to listen, but for someone a little bit older to be willing to listen and think about that and reprogram his thought process, I think is very important. And so I appreciate the time to take for the email.
Yeah. I want more feedback like that. If you liked an episode, if you think we missed the mark on an episode or whatever, you can always email us or give us a call on our hotline, which is 407-519-0181 to let us know.
Or of course, email datingkindasuckspodcast.
We're
going to keep saying this because we want you to actually send in information. It's, it's funny. I know this is another, tangent, but SiriusXM, I listen to it all the time. They have this thing on All Nation where they want people to leave voice recordings. So they're like, just record, instead of doing a voicemail thing, they just say, do a voice recording on your phone and then email it to us and we'll play it on air. And they only play, maybe like 3 a day that I hear, which means with their audience of thousands and thousands of people, they can probably only get, a dozen people, a day maybe to send them in, if that, and I'm like, so that I know it's hard for us with our small audience compared to, Sirius XM to get people to do this. But, it means a lot when people take the time to call and leave a voicemail and or send an email. And we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we actually have an actual voicemail and another email from someone. We're going to answer those in lieu of What to See with Sarah G, because Sarah G has seen it all. No, because we're just taking a break this week and gonna do this instead. So we'll be right back.
Well, in lieu of What to See with Sarah G this week, we, like Adam had already mentioned, we are going to be sharing a voicemail and an email from DKSers like you. So this first call, and only call actually, because the next one's an email, comes from Lexi, and we'll play it and then we'll go from there.
Hey, y'all. So I was wondering, I've been dating this guy for about a year now, and we haven't had the conversation of if we're boyfriend and girlfriend. We haven't had that explicit conversation yet, but we have already made it clear that we're dating each other exclusively. And I think this is somebody that I want to be in a relationship with, but also I feel like this guy, he doesn't take me out enough. And we've been having the conversation of, I want our meetups and our time spent together to be more intentional. And we've had this conversation for a few months now. I feel like I'm just not getting that. So based off of that information, is this a relationship that I should even be trying to pursue if I'm not even getting, the basic planning to go out to date? Because I don't want it to be just a sex situation, but I feel like we're not going out and dating enough if we are actually dating exclusively, So that's my question for y'all. Should I even be trying to pursue a relationship if I'm already not getting what I want to make me feel comfortable about going to the next level? Thank you guys so much. Love the show.
What are your thoughts, Adam?
Well, basically, this sounds very problematic. It sounds like she kind of knows, like she's been trying to ask him to be in a relationship, and he's been kind of giving non-committal answers. And so instead of just like making him answer, she's just kind of not willing. She's afraid to ask for the real truth, is what it sounds like to me. So Lexi, you've been dating for a year now, and you haven't had the conversation if you're boyfriend or girlfriend, or if you're in a relationship. You don't have to say boyfriend or girlfriend. There's a variety of different things you can say. But if you made it clear you're not dating anyone else, and you're dating each other exclusively, then what else is left? And so I think that it's time to have that conversation and say, listen, I want this to be like an official relationship. I don't want this to be this weird limbo where you're like, we're exclusive with each other, but we're not going to say boyfriend or girlfriend. Ha ha ha. Like, why not? Well, what's holding him back? And
also, she doesn't sound particularly happy either. There's things they're not going on dates like she wants to go on dates. There's something missing.
It sounds like it's mostly sex.
Right.
Because she does actually, like, I think she even said that, like, go on dates because she doesn't want it to be just a sex situation. So it does kind of sound like maybe he's just getting laid, and so he's willing exclusively. So he's willing to be exclusive because he's getting
just for sex,
his needs fulfilled, and doesn't want to put the effort into actual relationship.
Yeah, he doesn't want the relationship aspect, just the sex part, and feeling like he has a companion when she's around, and then he can go on to just be his own person without fucking anybody else.
Right.
Which is fine if that's what they both want. But I think after a year of being in that situation with no clarity, you either end it or you make dramatic changes. Because it's just not sustainable, and there's no communication on where you're at, which I think after a year you probably need to communicate that, and if you can't, then it's not going to work.
Absolutely. I think that it's really time to kind of put your foot down there and draw a little line and say, here's what I need out of this thing that we have. Number one, let's define it. And number two, let's start treating it like a relationship. Let's actually go out and do things, because that sounds like you're not getting fulfilled because you want to go on dates, and he is not doing that. So that's obviously a problem. And he might have an answer you don't want. He might not be willing to put the effort in, or maybe he just thinks you're happy because he's happy. And men sometimes project, and when they project both negative things and positive things. So maybe like, oh, this works for me, so why wouldn't it work for you? Like, it might be in his brain until you explicitly are like, dude, this is not, I don't want to just have sex. I want to actually have fun out, dancing and going to the restaurants and going to the movies, whatever you're going to do. I think he needs to hear that explicitly from you.
I agree. I think he's probably fine. The exclusivity part of it was fine with like where you guys are at currently. So he might be like, oh, this isn't working. What's the next thing? That's cool. I'm game for stepping up and being more of a relationship type of person. But yeah, like you said, if he hasn't had to think about that, then it might not have crossed his mind. He could be open to it, but you have to have that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So good luck with that. Have that chat with him, talk to him, and then give us a call back and let us know what happens. Let us know how it went, or what's happening with it. I've asked. I realize we've asked several people who have called in.
No one's. I know.
No one ever
as you
tells
say
us
that,
what actually happened. We never
what
know
happened.
We're always left hanging, and like, I don't want to be left hanging. I want to hear what actually ends up happening. But so yeah, good luck with that. It's going to be a tough conversation, I think. But hopefully you'll get the answer that you need.
Yeah.
So
okay.
That was from Lexi.
Yeah.
You too can call and leave a voicemail with your
Don't
question.
be afraid.
Don't be afraid. 407-519-0181. It only takes you a minute. You just call the number. It goes right to voicemail. And it's not like we're going to pick up because it's an automated voicemail system. So it just goes right there. You just leave your message, say your name, say your question, and you're done. And so just go ahead and do that right now. And then we'll wait. We'll wait for you to dial. Are you going to do it?
Right now.
Right
yes.
now. Yes. I want you to pause the episode, do it, and then come back. And now we're going to have an email from Ben, who's asking for some advice.
Right. And you can email us at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com. You don't have to do that right this second, but at the end of the episode, when you're thinking, wow, this episode really impacted my life in a certain way, let us know by emailing us.
Exactly.
All right. And let's begin with Ben's email. So I just started listening to your podcast recently and have really been enjoying you guys. I just came off of a 3-month situationship that ended with me realizing that my needs weren't being met and that I really wanted a committed/serious relationship. Now I'm back in the dating circuit. The thing that concerns me is that I've seldom come across from a first date feeling like I was totally excited about a second date. I'm wondering if that's normal or if I have something going on that I need to address. For example, I met a girl at my favorite bar the other night and went up and started making conversation. She was very easy to talk to and we had fun chatting with each other. I remember thinking in my head, if she asked for my number, I'll give it. But I don't know if I'm interested enough to ask for hers. Eventually, I asked for her number anyways. What do you guys think about how to decide whether or not someone is worth more? Okay, let me start that again. What do you guys think about how to decide whether or not someone is worth more investment? Is it normal to feel lukewarm with everyone at the beginning?
All right. So what do you think? Is it normal to feel lukewarm with everyone at the very beginning?
I don't think it's a bad thing to feel lukewarm with people at the beginning. You disagree?
I do, but okay.
No, I mean,
go ahead. I want to hear your.
I don't think it's the worst thing to be lukewarm. If you're maybe, and this gets into our topic of pandemic dating, but there's been people that I actually really grew to like that I wasn't super like head over heels with. Oh my God, they're so great with this. They're so, I was a little excited, but not like incredibly rose-colored glasses. I think as I've matured, I've just accepted the person for who they were the first time I met them. I'm like, oh, they were a cool person. And that's me saying lukewarm of, I thought they were cool. We enjoyed our time. It wasn't all of these butterflies or feelings or whatever the first time we hung out, but that's how I define lukewarm of, they were cool. I would see them again. Nothing bad to say. Why not? And it was more of the why not that I went on a second date with them.
Right. And I know we've talked about this before too, about the going like with the why not for the second date. I think for me, I've had enough situations where I have hit it off with someone, and not even on a dating context, just like met somebody out or a friend of a friend or just at an event or something, and hit it off with a woman, and we just immediately like just had this like energy, and like a synergy almost that you click really well, and you're like, oh, this is someone I could talk to all the time, and like when I really am excited, I want to talk to them again, I want to meet them, and I've had that with I would say a decent number of people. And so for me, if you don't have that, then what?
But lukewarm do you define lukewarm as your conversation clicks?
No, like lukewarm is just like, I was like, oh, okay, if I never see this person again, I'm not really gonna care. But if I, maybe next time it'll be just as, be okay. That's what I mean.
Okay, maybe I define it differently. I think it's like there's the high of, oh my God, I'm so infatuated with this person. Everything was fantastic, whatever. And then underneath that is they were cool. I thought we got along really well. I think lukewarm maybe falls underneath that of meh. Is that just a meh?
I think it's a kind of meh, but it might be like okay, they were cool. Like they're not I didn't hate them. It's like, there was no red flags. There was nothing that made me want to walk away, but there's nothing that made me want to continue the date later or keep going to the next location or, it was a good conversation. And, that was about it. And, and I'll probably, if I didn't think about that person again in 6 months, I'll probably forget that it even happened. That's what lukewarm to me.
Okay. Then I just define that differently because if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. I guess it goes back to that where then, so mine is like 3-tiered. It's hell yes, they were cool, and then meh. Yeah. So I guess lukewarm falls in the meh
for now. Me. Yeah. But if you approach it a little bit differently, that can make sense.
Yeah. So I guess the meh category was always, I'm not going to see them again, which then answers the question. Maybe you shouldn't see them again.
Yeah, no, it's like it makes sense with your definition of it. I would say like for Ben's like situation too, like you can sometimes just enjoy just chatting with someone, and it doesn't always have to be date related. It doesn't always like you can. Sometimes you can just enjoy it and just be like, oh, this would be a cool person to talk to, and it doesn't have to have romantic ties to it either. So keep that in mind. And I think that. It is, if you're finding that you have a lot of lukewarm, everything's been lukewarm, like you're just not really, it sounds like maybe you're not really in the place to really want to date right now either. You just kind of want,
100%.
yeah.
Yep.
Which is okay too. Like it's good to take breaks from dating. Like it really is. Otherwise you burn yourself out pretty damn fast.
Yeah. And I think too, if he was already thinking in his head, I don't really know if I want to give my number to her, then don't.
Right.
then don't give your number. Don't ask for it. Just enjoy whatever the conversation was and then go on your way.
Yeah, because
even though he did, but
yeah, and I in an ideal world, I also think that you would want to. I mean, maybe it's just because maybe I'm a romantic in that sense, but like when I meet somebody and really click with them, like I'm like, oh, I want to talk to this person all night long. I want to wake up in bed next to them and make them coffee. Like like it's a desire to be with them and talk and like just spend time with them. Like, and it's a very compelling feeling. It's very very strong. And so when I have those moments, if I compare anything else to those moments, that's like, why would I even bother continuing to talk to this person if I don't have that compulsion? Like, is that someone that I'm really going to want to talk to a week from now? Like, is this someone that I'm already going to be bored with? So
that makes sense.
That's how I approach it.
Yeah, and I also say anyone you talk to, you don't always have to look at it as a romantic interest either.
Right.
As the friendship stance.
Yeah.
I will also say, when you said, and I'll make them coffee, I thought you were going to say, and I'll make them come. Like, my mind, I was like, oh, he's being romantic.
Be romantic. I'll make them come.
That kind of surprised me.
No, make them coffee in the morning. It's one
Sweet.
of my favorite things to ever do is,
really?
Get up and yeah. It's always because it's amazing how many women have stayed the night who then the next morning, like, you're the first person to ever make me coffee. Like, and it's just crazy. That there were so many women who have said that, who have actually had that experience. They've never had anybody even make the effort to do so. I was just watching the Office just as I was working, and Jim makes Pam like a grilled cheese sandwich because they're staying late at work, and they're sitting up on the roof eating, and she goes, it's been so long since anybody's ever made me, like, ever made a meal for me, or made, whatever, to obviously referring, because at this point she's still dating or engaged to Roy. But I just realized his name is Roy.
Mm-hmm.
I just realized that. I didn't even think about it. And I was like, because I don't know any Roys, and I didn't even put that together. But she's still engaged to Roy, and of course he's a terrible fiance and boyfriend and everything like that. But I was just like thinking about the same type of thing, like how many women have dated men who the men have never taken the effort to even try to provide for them in anything, in any real way, any like concerning way. So yeah, that was a weird tangent, but there we go.
Coffee and cum, you know me. That's where my mind goes.
Yes. So there you go, Ben. Good luck with that. Take a break. Give yourself a breathing space from dating for a little while, and then when you're really kind of wanting to do it again, you can get back into it. I think that's the best solution for you.
I agree.
So with that, yes, once again, you can go ahead and call and leave a voicemail at 407-519-0181 while we take a break. So there's going to be like a couple of minutes of commercials, like a
1 minute break.
Commercials, yeah, just enough time for you to leave a call, leave a voicemail, or email us at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com. When we come back, we're going to talk about whether or not the pandemic has ruined dating.
As Adam and I always do our research and come up with topics well in advance, not really. I was having dinner with one of my friends here in Seattle, and she's in her mid-30s and single. And I hadn't actually asked her about her dating life. She's been dating on and off during the pandemic, and she's dating a little bit right now. And I kind of wanted to know, what's the dating scene like in Seattle? Because there's this thing called the Seattle freeze, where everyone just kind of freezes you out, doesn't get back to you, never wants to hang out. Everyone's more introverted. So I wanted to know, is this a Seattle thing? What's it like? Because everyone talks about how Denver, how Nashville, insert major city. So my friend was saying that she's less concerned about how people are ghosting or flaking on plans, because it's relatively a normal experience for any city. But she said her problem with Seattle is just how much the dating scene has changed since the pandemic. And I was like, wait, tell me more. And then I started telling you, Adam, about just how she was explaining her experiences. Right. And you're like, wait, actually, I've noticed changes in myself since the pandemic. maybe we should talk about this more because it's a bigger thing than I think people realize. And we're still going about our daily lives. And so many things have changed since the beginning of 2020, but especially dating and just meeting people in general.
Well, and I think that, when you were telling me about it, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I know that we've talked about it occasionally on here about at least my personal feelings about dating and maybe how I've changed to a degree. But I think that now being a few years out from it, it gives us a little more perspective of is it still happening? Like, are these changes? Is this something that's really kind of affected, how people date overall? So I think it is a good topic because I feel like, I mean, it makes sense that it would affect dating. It was a global event that shut down the world for a while, and it affected how people worked. It affected, like how jobs been affected since the pandemic. It affected how people shopped, how people ate. Like all of these things it's affected. So the fact that it affects dating isn't too much of a surprise. But I thought we could talk about what really has changed since the pandemic that has made it a different landscape than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, and my friend had mentioned that people are just less willing to go out now.
Yeah,
even though things are open and available and anything, they just don't want to go. And I attribute a little bit of that, like you mentioned, working. A lot of people work remotely, and there's less spontaneous, hey, do you want to meet up after work at this bar that's in between where we both work in the office? It's, oh, I'm in my house already, I don't want to leave. Hang on one second, Dennis, I swear to God.
Why? What's wrong? Just leave him.
No,
he's not making any sound.
no, sorry.
Dennis the cat is apparently disrupting the episode, even though I couldn't hear anything. Then this makes more work for me to have to do when I have to edit the video later. Maybe I'll just leave this all in. Let's start looking through Sarah's wardrobe. She has lots of patterns. Do you notice that? There's lots of different patterns there. You got all types of paisleys, it looks like.
Fucking Dennis.
I couldn't hear. We can't hear her. We couldn't hear anything. You just leave him alone.
No. He was so loud. So fucking loud. I don't mind if he comes down here, but he just came in from outside, so that's when he always meows.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I'm like just ran across the house. Do you have anything to add from what I just said?
I don't remember what you just said.
How people are less likely to leave their house and go out on happy hour things after work now because they all work remotely from their homes.
I think that's very true. I think the work remotely, although I would say that, there's still a very large portion of people who work remotely, but there's also a lot of people who still work in an office, but now they've kind of come to enjoy their home time as well. And so many people took the pandemic and took time to set up almost like a space that was like their, whatever they did, there was like home was the, kind of comfort zone. And so I think that even if they work in an office, they might still not necessarily want to go out afterwards. And I know that that's been a lot of it for me. Is it's the idea of like, I just want to, like, we're going to have a conversation. Do we need to be sitting in a bar having a conversation, or like, do you just want to have a chat? But how do you invite, like, that's the other thing too, is then it also is like, I'm not trying to invite you over to have sex. I just want to, like, why don't we just kind of
comfort of my own home.
Somewhere where we don't have to wear shoes and you can just sit in a comfy chair and we can talk and there's nobody else around. And, and that's hard also for dating because that is not safe for women to do. And so it's not something that men should be asking women to do. But I know that's like, for me, that's like, oh, it'd just be so much easier if we just met somewhere where, like, it's so much more chill. We're all in our comfort zones. We're not, and so I think that's been a part of it. And yeah, the idea of like going out, trying to pick a place and everything, and just like
all the energy, I think it's an energy that we don't have anymore. It's so different now, where I spent maybe 20% of my time at home. The other 80% I was out doing cool shit, or I was at work,
Right.
Now I spend 80% of my time at home. It's completely flip-flopped.
And I also think that as a result of that, people are like, because everyone spent so much time alone and at home, that they started to appreciate like being alone. Like they started to actually see the benefits of it. They started to develop their own routines and everything. And I went through that before the pandemic, where I was kind of like, I have my routine. I like my things to do. I don't want to like disrupt it and everything like that. And I think that people kind of caught up with me and my grumpiness, basically.
You were ahead of the time.
Yeah, so that was yes, exactly. I was a trendsetter with my crotchetiness of being like, I have the things I like. I don't want to like expand and go do all types of crazy things. And then sometimes I think of like earlier pre-pandemic, like going on a date, and someone's like, oh, let's try this, let's like try something new, and I'd be like, yeah, that's cool, let's do it. And now I'd be like, no, why? Like, why are we doing this? Like, I don't understand. I don't want, no thank you. And I do think that people are starting to learn to like themselves as individuals, like, and as single adults. And so it makes it less like you're not as desperate to go out and try to date, because you're okay being alone. You're like, oh yeah, I just survived the pandemic. Like I have 14 shows I want to watch now, or whatever
that I didn't already do during the pandemic. There's new shit now.
Exactly.
Yeah. My friend also had mentioned, which I found really interesting, about the communication barrier, that there's more of that now when she does go out on dates, where I guess people have really clinged to the new shitty men have clinged on to the new influencers in the space, giving guys this advice of, this is what you want in a woman, hit this checklist, and listening to these shitty influencers. And she said on multiple dates she's gone on post-pandemic, she said it was a code of, I already knew the next fucking question they were going to ask me, because they're trying to get to, interesting, you're in your mid-30s, you don't have kids, and you're single, you must be you must not want an alpha male, so she's coming across more men like this who are trying to find a woman who meets the criteria that these influencers are giving them this list to check off on.
Yeah, I think that is probably a lot of it too, is that the pandemic gave these crusty ass white dudes with too much time on their hands, they started finding TikTok and doing podcasts and giving terrible, awful advice, and generated an audience of other bored dudes who were sitting at home jerking off and playing video games and not meeting anybody and not having any socialization or any social skills, and started following the people who were slightly more charismatic than they are, although none of them are really charismatic too. If you
I was gonna say, wait.
Like, yeah, it's weird too, because I would say none of the podcasters who do like the male dating advice, not a single one of them is someone that I would say like is charismatic or is a good public speaker or is like even demonstrates intelligence. They manage to somehow give off this impression that they know what they're talking about, and then all these idiots follow them like little guppies and then start trying to practice this advice. And then these are the same people who like, if you're gonna catch fish, you don't ask the fish how to catch them, you ask the fisherman, because that's how they view the dating pool, is that women are something you need to catch, not something that not someone you actually want to connect with on a human level. And so, yeah, absolutely, I could see that being an issue with for a lot of women. I could see that being a huge turnoff, is that you see so many men who look up to Andrew Tate and people like that, and immediately, like, why would a woman even want to talk to like a shit stain who thinks Andrew Tate knows what he's doing, and it blows my mind.
Yeah, those influencers, I mean, even before the pandemic, there were still shitty men in the dating pool that you would come across and might perhaps go on an actual in-person date with. But it was far and few between, where I think it's a lot more now.
Well, no, like,
maybe
I don't
one
remember
in
any of
one
these
in
people
10
existing before the pandemic. I don't.
Right. And men had their own shitty ideas, but they didn't have influencers to follow to back them up to feel more confident when they ask these fucking stupid questions on dates. They feel, and my friend was saying, they feel they're in the right to ask these fucked up questions because these influencers gave them the false confidence that they're right for asking them. And she had to like hold her tongue on dates and say, it's not an appropriate question to ask, or I don't really enjoy, and how do you screen that out before a first date? You can try your best, and maybe she didn't follow all of the screening, but I'm saying, sometimes people can slip through the cracks where everything seems fine or whatever, and then they get on the date and they switch codes real fast and say, okay, I'm gonna ask you all these shitty questions now.
Yeah, I would guess that there's probably some red flags that she might have not really picked up on as she got that far to the because these guys they're not chameleons. Like a lot of them are, a lot of them are pretty fucking blunt instruments.
She might, it might have been a quick. They matched. His photos look normal. His bio looked normal. And then he was like, you want to meet up for a drink soon? And she said, yeah, sure, fine. Where I think pre-pandemic, you didn't run as much of a risk as you might now.
Yeah, I agree. And so, you know what she should do, by the way? She should have her own list of questions. She should be like, when was the last time you washed your ass? And that should be like question number one. And number two, if you touch your butt, does that make you gay? And I think those two questions will probably screen out almost all of them. But no, it does. I think it's gotten a lot worse. And I think it was these guys that like these podcasters and everything, and the male dating coaches, and it was the polarizing effect of like COVID and vaccinations, and realizing how many people out there think science is magic, and don't understand science at all, or don't want to trust science and think that they know more than people who actually know what they're talking about. And so the whole anti-vax crowd became this like rallying cry of the the idiotic, and then became this idea that people are like being champions by being purebloods, which then like do you know how close to white supremacy you're sounding like this? That's not too many steps away. And so basically that has also created this extra group of red flags that never existed before. You didn't have that. The only people who were anti-vaxxers before COVID were like hippie moms who were just
right,
like,
exactly.
Which is weird because like you wouldn't think the hippie to right-wing pipeline was a thing, but it actually became one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was the only anti-vaxxers. Like if you asked a guy, has he been vaccinated? He'd be like, I guess when I was a teenager, yeah. Like he'd never even like think about it. But now it became a whole new red flag. A way to like scream people out is guys who, I'm a pure blood. And I even see that. I see that women's profile still less so
really
in some areas, like less so like when I was in Colorado and when I was up in the Pacific Northwest, more so like in Utah and stuff. Like I would see a woman who's like, if you got the vax, swipe left, I don't want to talk to you, pure bloods only, like shit like that.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's
I think, 2016 with the Trump election obviously polarized, was a big split in the dating pool. And then the pandemic became an even bigger split with everything else, whether it was, Trump or Biden, or, vax or no vax, or then you introduce influencers into shitty influencers into the mix, and more people spending time on their phones now than before.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think that there's like it just created a whole new like world of other things to think about. Like now, like people that were in relationships for finding out that their spouse was all of a sudden like an anti-vaxxer, or was like or Trump supporter or whatever, and it became a huge issue. And so like if you're already in a relationship with someone, you don't even know them, like how much do you want to? Does that person, when they break up, do they want to start dating again? Like if they just found out their long-term partner was crazy, and they're like, I don't know if I even want to try dating again. Why even risk it?
Yeah, it's not worth it. Actually, I value my own happiness more than being miserable with some man. And I think maybe that's the side of TikTok I'm on now, but there's so many women saying, yeah, I don't want to be in a relationship. I don't want to be married. That's not something I value anymore. And there's this big wave of my side of the internet, at least, that I've never seen before, of single women in their like late 20s, mid 30s saying, not interested. I'm done dating men. And of course, that doesn't make men, shitty men especially, happy to hear, because studies have said their happiness levels improve when they're married. So they must find a wife because they need a wife in their life. But I don't know. There's definitely a shift among women saying, I'm not going to tolerate this shit anymore. And I really don't need you anyways.
And I think that we've also seen since the pandemic, I think there was a new study that came out that said that single men are now the loneliest people out there or something like that. Or like,
yep.
Are they're lonely and sad, and it's like because they don't know how to find their own things to do. Like they feel like a partner is their only chance at happiness.
They're gonna continue to be lonely and sad, really, if they keep acting like fucking shitheads.
How about they just go to therapy? There we go. That might be the thing to do. Yeah. So I mean, I think that I know that when I'm going to be settled in Tulsa, I am gonna get a little more active in dating because I'm going to be somewhere. But even then, it's definitely going to be minimal. It's not going to be the focus of my time. It's going to be if I have some free time and I live downtown now, so it's easy for me to be like, hey, let's just meet somewhere. That will will be one positive. But it's also not going to be something that I'm going to be like trying to go do all these cool things just because it's a date. It's just I have permanently changed since the pandemic, so I'm not surprised that your friend's also seeing that.
Yeah. I'm also thinking too, just looking ahead with everything going on with the economy and housing crisis and just recession talks and people losing their jobs, how many people are actually willing to go on dates just to spend the money in general? More people might just, yes, you can do things for free. And we've talked about that before, but why fucking bother?
Yeah. I know. And then I don't like, I mean, big events. I don't like it's weird being somewhere that's really crowded. Like, I'm so used to, I think I went through being alone like so much that when I started going out to places that were even like super crowded, it felt just really uncomfortable for me. I was like, I'm not enjoying this. I'm not enjoying just the, uber crowded environment. And so I think that's also part of it too, is like dates are now like, a lot of people are just like, I don't want to like this. I don't know if it's a social anxiety or just a social avoidance, but I think that's that is permanently changed how a lot of people view events too.
And as far as dating apps go, not that I have any experience recently, but when they first came out and I started using them, they were fun to a degree. The stupid messages, the dumb conversations back and forth. There was an element of that. But now my friend was saying it's just exhausting being on there where I don't even want to be on the fucking app. I don't want to be on my phone anymore. Or if I'm going to be on my phone, I'm going to be on TikTok or another social media platform, or try to be outside, living my life as normal as I can and not be swiping on the apps because it's just a time suck that I don't need and I'm not getting any value out of.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, she's right. So do you think there's anything we can do to change this? Like there's things we can do about this?
I mean, going back to also like our listener call or our listener emails earlier.
From Ben.
If you want to date and you intentionally set up of saying this is a goal of my, I want to successfully date and put energy into it, then do it. But take a break. And we've always said this too. If you're not fully in it and you're just kind of blah about it, get the fuck off the apps and just live your life without trying to find somebody to date, because you're not in the right headspace and you're going to meet someone and it's just going to be messy and not a fun time. So intentionally go out there to date.
Yeah, I think you have to set your priorities and you have to date with intention. Like you said, I think you have to go and say, okay, do I want to date because I just want someone to go out with occasionally? Do I want to date because I want to, or am I on the app because I just want to get laid? Am I on the apps because I'm looking for a relationship? Like, what is it that you're looking for? And be specific and go after that purpose. If you use the apps out of boredom, which is where I find myself, or attention, which is where I find myself a lot, is out of boredom. I'm just like, oh, let me just swipe on, for a bit. You're wasting your time and the other person's time. And I think before it didn't seem like such a big deal, but now I feel like maybe it seems like it's more of a waste of time since the pandemic. So I think that having a specific intention is so important. And I think that's something that I would suggest that If you don't have an intention, you're just like, oh, I don't know, then don't do it. Like just don't do it for a while. Focus, go do something else instead. Focus on some other aspects of your life you want to work on, and come back to it when you actually are like, okay, you know what? Yes, now I really want somebody to go to the movies with every week or whatever it is. Like, it doesn't have to be like a huge thing. Just like some type of intention that you're looking for, so that when someone asks you, what are you looking for? You have a fucking answer.
Instead of, oh, I don't know, just something fun. That's not a good. We should all grow up and kind of stop having that answer now.
Yes, I agree.
That's just me. I always hated when someone said that as an answer, because I would think, why the fuck did you ask me out on a date then?
Right.
I thought and be clear, maybe just like you said, set the intention of, hey, I'm just looking for a hookup. Hey, I'm just looking for this, and say that instead of trying to wasting your time and the other person's time, like you already said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and say that the communication is important. To communicate clearly what you're looking for. Don't, and if you're not enjoying a conversation with somebody, or if it's just kind of, once again, if it's like lukewarm under my definition of lukewarm, then like if the conversation's lukewarm, then it's not going to get any better from there. I just think you should just cut your losses when you can. And I think that it's even more important now than ever to avoid collecting red flags too. That if you see somebody that gives off the slightest red flag, like whatever it is, I don't care how small the red flag is, a tiny red flag is going to lead to big red flags later. And we've talked about this so many times, that someone who says something like, starts off like, hey, sexy, hey, beautiful, or whatever, they start off their the dating app conversation with that is almost a red flag. If you call them out on it and they get defensive, then it is a red flag. And that means that they don't see you as a person. And I know people like brush it off. Oh no, it's just a matter of speech or whatever. No, I guarantee you that is one of those things. And it's funny how sometimes people will brush off these small red flags, and then only like, oh, 6 months later, oh yeah, I found out blah blah blah. No shit. That's what these these small red flags lead to the big red flags. And so you have to be more aware of them, and you have to be able to cut someone out as soon as you see something that's a bright red and waving in your fucking face.
Agreed. Yeah. I don't know. Or just, I don't know. Dating sounds exhausting. And I think about, if Roy and I ended, I don't think not only would dealing with a breakup suck, but I don't think in this climate I'd want to date. And I hate saying I really
can't see you going on dates like you were in the past. Like I really it'd be.
I went on every other week. I was on a new first date, and it was fucking exhausting, but I was so excited for it. And I just don't have that. And I don't even feel that way about making new friends here anymore. Right. Because I find some things correlate as far as being lukewarm when you're meeting new people. And should I even continue this friendship or hang out with you again or text you? Maybe not. Is it even worth leaving my house to meet up with this person on a friend date? Not getting the good vibe. The two correlate very, very strongly, where I'm like, and I'm not in the position right now where I really want to make new friends because, and I don't even have a lot of friends here because I've seen that it's been a huge fucking waste of my time because people suck.
Yeah, because people suck. There we go. And I think the only other thing I would say is that maybe change your perspective on like maybe what dating means to you too. Like, is it, can you do virtual dates? Can you meet people other ways, etc.? Like those are other things to keep in mind. But I feel like, like if we acknowledge that the dating in the pandemic, since the pandemic has changed for good, like it has changed, not for good as in the good, like as in a good thing, but permanently it has changed. And it's going to change how people date now, then you really have to, like I said, you have to approach it differently, and don't approach it as casually, but only do it when it's something you're ready to do. And I think that maybe that'll make a little bit difference if we have more people that are just focused when they want to, and otherwise aren't wasting everyone else's time.
I 100% agree. You're not going to spontaneously text someone at 5:00 and be like, hey, meet up after work. Right. The barrier to entry is so much higher now than it ever was before. Yep.
I agree. Well, I think we'd love to hear if anybody has some experiences that maybe they've had since the pandemic that has shown maybe they were wrong. Maybe you've had a positive experience.
Dating's been better for you in your city or whatever.
We'd love to hear that. Or worse, either way, just to kind of see what you think about it. Well, you can email us, of course, with your thoughts at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com, or call the hotline. Once again, 407.
Our favorite.
I know, 407-519-0181. Or you can join our Facebook group and share in there at facebook.com/groups/DKS podcast.
And as far as social media, if you want to give us a comment, a like, a share, whatever that social media platform promotes, you can follow Adam or myself on TikTok. Adam is at Adam Heath and mine is at simplysarahg_. You can also follow our Instagram page at Dating Kinda Sucks. And if you've been watching on YouTube or you want to check out our traumatic videos on YouTube where crazy things happen, that's at youtube.com/Dating Kinda Sucks.
That's right. And if you want to support the podcast, you can for $5 a month at patreon.com/DKS podcast. We do put up bonus episodes, usually once a month. So you get extra content. But even if you didn't get extra content, supporting us for $5 a month is worth it for everything that we do for you. I mean, come on, isn't it? I think so. And of course, if you're listening on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. It's been a while since we've had some reviews. So if you're a new listener and you haven't left one yet, please take the time to leave us a 5-star rating and review. And on Spotify as well, you can also rate the podcast now. I don't know how you do it because I haven't actually figured it out, but
it's on the app. It's on the app.
Spotify app. Okay. If you pull up our podcast, I'm going to ask you to review it somewhere on there. And so we'd love for you to give us a 5-star rating on there too, because sometimes the men's rights activists love to hate on us.
Yeah. Or you can share this podcast with a friend. You don't have to do any of the social things, but say, hey, I listened to this cool episode. You should listen to, and share it with your friends. That's so true. It spreads the word of all this positivity with dating instead of shitty male podcasters.
Absolutely. That's a good call. I like that. So with that, we will be back in 2 weeks with a brand new episode. And if you said, looking forward to hearing from some of you with some voicemails. So I'm really expecting to get some after this episode. I have faith in this. So please do that. And then
all episodes, just listener emails and voicemails next episode.
That's right. That's all it is. Yeah. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Until next time.
Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yuck, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers they pluck. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.